Good evening, listeners. Welcome to Bless Radio. It's 6 p.m. UK time, and this is the spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge message in the light of truth by Abrushin. I'm Saad, the host of the show, and with me very shortly will be Gregory. Every week we have a new topic for discussion. The topic tonight is strive to understand the truth aright. Strive to understand the truth aright. You are welcome to join in with your questions or comments. You can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39641958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00447939641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's an alternative way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. Now I can welcome my colleague Gregory. Gregory, how are you, and how is the weather where you are?
One is fine and it's cold.
Okay, here in southeast London, it is also cold. It's been a bit windy as well earlier in the day, I would say. And now it's, of course, gone dark. So welcome, listeners. Again, I just want to quickly remind you the topic that we're discussing tonight is strive to understand the truth aright. I'm going to begin with what is the Grail message? The Grail message in the light of truth by Abrushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized, and thereby the purpose of our life, of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experience of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail message, Abrushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives so that it only permits those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly, or else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic that we're discussing tonight is strive to understand the truth aright. Strive to understand the truth aright. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Alternatively, you can contact us by going to our website where we are broadcasting, that is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. Dear listeners and Gregory, as usual, I like to begin with looking up the words of the topic in the dictionary. So the topic tonight is strive to understand the truth aright. So the first word we find is strive. And I've got 2 meanings given in the dictionary for that. The first one, it says make great efforts to achieve or obtain something. I'll just repeat that. Make great efforts to achieve or obtain something. Gregory, how is this definition?
The key there is great efforts, and I think that is appropriate.
Good.
However, it doesn't specify the context. Therein lies the challenge. One must consider great efforts in deeds. That means the happenings in deeds. You must make great efforts. You must be alert and quite observant. There's also that in thoughts. So there must be great efforts in thoughts also. And finally, great efforts in one's intuition. In that case, they need to purify one's intuition such that in the union or in considering one's intuitions, one's thoughts and the deeds, that practically means great efforts. That means it's not just in one area, but in definitely these 3 areas.
Thanks for that, I could say, clarification and sort of expansion of the concept and the context, in fact, is what you've been referring to about when we are talking about striving. So thank you for that. The next key word I looked up in the dictionary is understand. So the word understand, before I move on to that, there's a second meaning of the word strive. I jumped too quickly. The second meaning given in the dictionary, it says struggle or fight vigorously. how is that, Gregory, for the our topic, relevant to our topic?
You find it's related to the first one, but I think the first one gives a more broader picture than the second, though it's also usable.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So now let's go to the word understand. The meaning of the word understand. We have two meanings again in the dictionary. The first one, it says perceive the intended meaning of, which can be words, language, or a speaker. So let me go back. So the word understand, it's in the dictionary. It says perceive the intended meaning of, and in brackets it says words, language, or a speaker. How's that?
Again, what we find, which is absent in this, is that of the context. There, with that expression, understand, an expression must have an impression. That means they must, behind that expression, it must convey an impression which one must then call the intuitive perception. So once you have that expression, understand, one has to consider it in the context of deeds which are observable, in the context of one's thoughts, which only the individual can have access to, and then one's intuition. So you find that that context of the laws of nature or the natural laws, these are very important for an understanding.
Thanks for that. What I'm seeing is when we don't have the context given by the dictionary, it's sort of leaving it to us to find that context. So other people could find a different context.
Correct.
We are so that it's in a way it's okay, because otherwise the dictionary will never end talking all the different contexts there could be. So we have to use it for our show. One of the reasons why I do this definitions of the words in the topic is to bring out, you could say, what we mean by the topic. Somebody else could use the same topic and come up with a different sort of understanding or different context, as you say. So that's why I do this right at the beginning of the show, so that we start to have a foundation. People are on the same page when we are talking. So thank you. Now, there's a second meaning for the word understand in the dictionary, and that one is interpret or view, in brackets, something in a particular way. So, Gregory, I think that's very appropriate somehow. So I'll just repeat: interpret or view, in brackets, something in a particular way. How's that one?
When you say in a particular way, that particular, that is, you see, when there's no context as such, it becomes something which is used for everyday meaning, and you really cannot pin it down. And in a particular way, which particular way are we referring to? All that one has to consider will be that in which is common to all that exists, and that will be the context of the laws of creation of nature.
Right. So yes, So we will keep that in mind, this context that we are talking about, laws of nature, and this creation that we live in. So yes. Okay. Now, the next word I have is truth. And that just reminded me, last week our topic was truth is objective. So today we have used the word again in our topic tonight, truth. So any case, I will again look in the dictionary the meaning first. So we have there again two meanings. The first one, it says that which is true. I know that is a repeat of the word truth, so I will leave that one actually. That which is in accordance with fact or reality. How's that, Gregory?
That partially may be used because you have the scenario where it's talking about facts. Facts do not make up the truth, for the truth is independent. Evil is a fact, but evil cannot be the truth.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Now, and there was also reality. So, is that a good one? In case
Well,
of reality?
it talks about facts and reality. Yes, like I said, evil is real, but evil is not the truth.
Right. Okay. The second meaning, it's let's say a slightly different, is similar, but let me just say that anyway. It says this the meaning for the word truth, just in case people are not following. This is another meaning for the word truth, which is a fact, which we already looked at, or belief that is accepted as true. Is that truth as well? Belief that is
No.
accepted as true.
No, because it's talking about a belief, whereas that
Right.
which is truth must be examined rigorously. So belief, one may not categorize a belief as truth at all.
Right. I'm even surprised they wrote that, but that's what they said. That's fine. Let us continue. There's the last word of the topic, which is aright. So in the dictionary, it says aright means correctly or properly. How is that, Gregory?
Yes, one can use that word aright, which is a qualification.
Right. That's good. That's good. Now, I'm now, we are living in this technology world, and Google AI is there as well. So I just decided to search for the topic, the whole topic in Google AI, which was the topic is again, strive to understand the truth aright. And they have what is found. The phrase strive to understand the truth aright emphasizes the importance of diligent effort and accurate interpretation in seeking knowledge, particularly in a moral or religious context. It is closely associated with the biblical verse 2 in Timothy 15, which is from the Bible. That's what it said, biblical verse. So there it says, study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Let me repeat that again. That's actually the Old English. I wish I'd checked that and come up with a more modern English. So that what is saying, this is in Timothy chapter 15, verse 2, it says, study to show thyself, which I will say is yourself, approved unto God. Workmen that needed. Okay, let me just stop there because it's getting a bit long. So let me just ask you there, Gregory.
Yes, what did you say again?
Yes, I'm just looking at it again. Okay, let me repeat this particular phrase and then you can respond to this. So in Google AI, it says, it emphasizes, so to strive to understand the truth aright. It is how can I say, the conception of that is, or the meaning of that is, the importance of diligent effort and accurate interpretation in seeking knowledge, particularly in a moral or religious context. So, Gregory, again, just how is it close with our discussion for tonight? Is that any help for us?
To some extent, it is a bit helpful, but one must understand the tool that you yourself are using, which is AI. In that case, it has its own limitation. Whereas the basis of our discussion are or is the laws of creation or the laws of nature. So some parts which AI has put forward, which is basically the beginning, some of those expressions can be used. But when it now refers to that which is of religion and beliefs and something of that nature, that is furthest away from what is meant by the expression which you have quoted. That's one of the key things that one needs to consider is that was truth. Truth itself, which remains the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, that means it is eternal. The key takeaway for truth is that truth itself is an expression, or one may say truth is the basis of the laws of nature or the laws of creation, or one may refer to truth as the divine laws, because these laws remain the same in creation, and it has always been like that. So they are eternally unchangeable, even in their forms. The laws of nature remain the same. So that expression which you just quoted means one should take great efforts in deeds, in one's thoughts, in one's intuition, to understand or to take it in, understand what lies behind one's observations. Which observations are being observations in deeds, in one's thoughts, or in one's intuition. And then added to it is Aright. That means the sense in which creation shows it to the individual. Each individual human personality must make that effort, because it is in making that effort that that individual can make progress from the state in which currently he or she is, make progress to another state of higher appreciation, in accordance with the laws of creation. So these things are not arbitrary.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for those words. What I got is the truth is like eternal and unchangeable, and the laws which are coming from them, based on this truth, the laws of creation that we are talking about, or divine laws, we also call them. They like come from the truth. So you could say that they are also unchangeable and eternal in a way. And that is what we have said is our context, like a fundamental starting point or foundation in coming to this understanding, because we're talking about strive to understand the truth aright. That's what our show is about today. So obviously, first you need to know what is the truth. And you gave the clue there. It's eternal, it's unchangeable. And then you mentioned also the laws, the divine laws, or laws of creation, which come from there. So that is how we are supposed to, how can I say, determine if something is true or not true. Okay, so what I want to ask next, Gregory, is everyone capable of, how can I say, recognizing the truth? Because Gregory, everybody's an individual. Every human being, we're talking about human beings here. So everyone is an individual. And, the level of, in quotes, understanding or appreciation or recognition even is going to be different. We know it from, life experiences. Even you use the same words to 2-3 different people, the way they will understand is, I think, the best way to put it. It can be different. It can be, I'm trying to think of an example. And it doesn't mean that somebody's, we're talking in a very neutral way, that somebody's, how can I say? Okay, let me say it another way, Gregory. To understand the truth, do you have to be like intelligent? Can we all understand the truth somehow? Or is there different levels of human beings, ability or intelligence, like I'm using the word, which doesn't allow them to understand the truth?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Okay, sorry. Okay. What I'm saying, Gregory, is everybody capable of understanding the truth, like aright? Let me say aright, because it seems because of is everybody capable, every human being capable of understanding the truth aright?
Of course, every individual is capable of understanding aright.
Okay.
Why is that so?
Yeah.
Because the individual has to experience, and in experiencing, there must be the weighing. There must also be the thorough examination. Therein lies that each individual along the line must make that effort, which you now refer to as striving. Of course, there's always a starting point. For as children, you will find that the individual starts by copying what they see in others, and then subsequently they keep weighing and examining. As an adult, it becomes very clear that the individual must always weigh, must always examine. That is the only way forward for the individual. So, through weighing and examination, the individual then hopefully will build up for itself that experience which it needs for further recognition. So everyone is capable of recognition, just as everyone is capable of learning the language of its parents or learning the language in order to communicate. If that individual didn't learn a language to communicate, then it would not understand. It will not recognize. It will not recognize the objects which are used for communication. Therefore, you have that in experiencing, in weighing and examination in deeds, in weighing and examination in thoughts, and above all, in weighing and examination in one's intuition, the possibility therefore opens up one step after the other to make sense of that which it has observed, to use the objects which has been placed across its paths to make sense in accordance with the context through which it itself came into existence. Therefore, everyone is capable of recognition. After all, what is recognition? To make sense, more like an evolution, we are standing in one particular step and you're striving to understand what lies behind this particular step, what lies behind this particular experience. It is what lies behind it. That is the motive. It is what lies behind it that expresses the intuition. That is the recognition which is meant.
Thanks a lot for that, Gregory. Yeah, before I ask you anything further, I just want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Uprushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message, you can go to this website, which is www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is strive to understand the truth aright. Strive to understand the truth aright. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 039-641-958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number one, .com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll find a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And we are also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number one there, space, Grail message, space, the topic of the show tonight, which is strive to understand the truth aright. And after the show ends, which is 8 p.m. UK time, you can listen to a recording of this show also on YouTube, typing the same words in the search box, which are Bless Radio 1, that's the number one there, space, Grail message, space, strive to understand the truth aright. And of course, you can listen to a recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM /radio/bless radio 1. That's the number one there. Now, Gregory, we've been talking about what is the truth and how you can, I am going to use the word absorb it or grasp it or understand it. And we've talked about how everyone is capable of absorbing or understanding the truth aright, which is all, of course, potentially. Then I will say, what is actually the reality? We have this variety of human beings. Yes, we might have the same, let's say, 5 senses, touch, I cannot hardly remember smell, talk, and so on, listen, and, those feeling. So those 5 senses that I can't remember very well, we all have that in common, of course. And but then we have our, you could say, different level of, I don't know if you can use the word intelligence or capability of understanding. Is each person is individual and with different levels, if I can say, of understanding. I'm going to say it that way, different levels of understanding. So when we have these different, and even, Gregory, let's say we come from different backgrounds, cultures, society, community, the language we say, even we speak different language. So some languages, they have many words for the similar type of situation. Let's say if you're in a desert, in let's say Arab countries, the word for heat or it can be, let's say, I don't know if I'm really saying this is accurate exactly, but let's say we hear some languages will have 10 words to describe, let's say, heat. And each one would have a slightly different meaning than the other one according to the level, because that is, let's say, for those people, that is something they can talk to, and people will understand that and appreciate that. In another language, they won't have that type of word, like 10 words to describe heat, just the one word, a couple of words. So where am I going with that? I'm just, where I'm wondering, Gregory, yes, the potential might be there for every human being to understand the truth, all right, I can accept that. However, the reality is that everyone is different and they have different experiences and background and so on. So in reality, um, um, how can I say, can they, what can I use the word? Is there some limitation in with this type of, how can I say, differences in understanding the truth? Let me say like that. Are there, with the differences that we have as human beings, our experience and whatnot, does that limit us to understand the truth? Aright.
The examples you gave of language, that is limited to the peoples or the culture. We should not forget that either the spoken language or the written language, whatever we care to call it, these are languages which have been adapted to the people. That which is referred to as the truth, which is ubiquitous, which is always there. The five senses which the individual has, these are only channels through which external impressions pass through these channels to the frontal brain for coordination, subsequently to the back brain, and finally it goes to the spirit. It is that recognition which the spirit is able to acquire. That is what is beneficial to it. And you will find that in whatever culture, whatever scenario which anyone may discuss, that's which the individual needs flow through any one of these five channels. That being the case, it means that once that particular experience goes to the spirit, it allows it to mature, to broaden itself, for it's able to make use of such experiences at different places. So the experiences and the maturity, the understanding of the truth is completely independent of the earthly simple languages which we use. For the channels that it requires have been granted the individual through the abilities that it has been granted, and this had been made possible, our nature had made it possible for the individual to be able to absorb external impressions and take it in. So as long as one is referring to the human spirit, not to the plants or the animals, as long as one is referring to the human spirit has capabilities. Which capabilities it needs to cultivate. These capabilities, one may refer to them as spiritual talents, which it needs to cultivate. It is these talents, or it is how the individual has cultivated these talents that counts. For that that really tells you the maturity which the human personality has acquired. And that is completely independent on the everyday artificial language which the individual is used to. Because you will find there is the English language which we speak, there is the French, there is the Japanese or the Chinese. These are different modes of expression. These modes of expression go through or uses the five senses granted the human personality. It uses them as adapters, as channels to pass experiences back to the spirit. These channels are granted to all alike. But the use, whatever they have made of it, that depends on the personality. It wouldn't be that, oh, this particular person has not been granted the opportunity to have the five senses, unless there's some deformity.
Thanks a lot, Gregory. I'm now getting a picture of how the truth can be understood, aright. That's basically we've been pointing out, the different features or abilities that we human beings have. You said like modes of expression, like language. Of course, there are the different languages of different countries, as we all know this, or even within countries, there are different languages. They're just the modes of expression. But the real, crux of the matter is that a mode of expression need to be translated into a spiritual understanding, or for the spirit to, you could say, recognize or absorb the truth. Which is, you could say, a universal. We are talking about human beings, just to, in case people might miss when they join the show and they think we are talking everyone, meaning everything that lives. No, this show is about, is aimed for human beings, and we talk about our human abilities and so on. So when we are saying that everyone, we mean every human being. So I'm just re-emphasizing that, because somebody could misinterpret that if they don't know that. So what I was saying, Gregory, yes, we have our mode of expression, the different languages and so on, but that's just, the starting point of receiving information and so on. But this information need to be turned into spiritual experiencing and absorbed into this, let's say, our living being of spirit, where we really make sense or understand. Yes, we have a brain, we have, let's say, intelligence, but what you have been referring to in terms of understanding the truth, aright, it's not about intelligence, it's about receiving that information from, let's say, our daily experience or whatever, but it needs to be taken in by the spirit, which is the real human being that we are. And so we need a spiritual understanding of whatever experiences we are going through, which is completely independent of any background, culture, like we mentioned earlier. So that's where we are trying to get to. Now, so, Gregory, I just want to distinguish this even more, clearly about understanding the truth aright. So we have our five senses, which let's allow us to operate on this earth. But that's not sufficient um, to understand this truth that we are talking about. So, um, and why am I saying that? Why am I asking that? Um, I just want to clarify, Gregory. There, let's say we go to school, we pass the exam. Some people to perform very well academically, others are not so academic. They're more good in sports or some artistic type of subject. So you see that, when they pass their exams and so on. And um, so what my question I want to ask, Gregory, has the level of intelligence got anything to do with um, so does the level of intelligence make any difference to the level of your understanding of truth?
The understanding of truth is based on spiritual experiences, which spiritual experiences is directly connected to one's intuition. It is remarkable that you mentioned going to school and intelligence is mentioned there. One may take a very simple example. One must be honest with oneself. Many a person who is engaged in music, many a person has not gone to any institution as such to initially learn how to sing. For some of these things, automatically or due to their nature, are able to call up some innate experience, some innate skill, without having previously gone to the ordinary school. So you will find that in the sphere of music or in the sphere of the arts, it is different. Intelligence is not measured by the so-called fluency with regards to that which is intellectual. By intelligence, one is referring to the spiritual maturity which the individual has acquired and is able to become of benefit to all. That in itself, one may refer to as spiritual maturity. Whereas that which is referred to as intellectual maturity, because the person has gone to school and has learned how to hide his words to mean something different, that in itself has nothing to do with intelligence. So the need is there to differentiate between spiritual intelligence and the intellectual intelligence, for they are very far apart. With that which one may refer to as spiritual intelligence, you will find there's the cultivation of the virtues. Whereas with that which is referred to as intellectual intelligence as such, that is basically the cultivation of earthly skills which are necessary for many a trivial pursuit. Ask yourself, the one who out there is a boxer, or the one who is out there as a sportsman, a footballer, because he's able to dribble and score goals, many will say, oh, this person is very intelligent. That's the way they say it. But you must ask, these earthly wiseness or calculation, does it equate to spiritual intelligence, by which one may measure the maturity of the individual? If that were the case, where you have many people who, in quotes, are very advanced in their thinking, why do we have the world wars where many things are just destroyed for the sake of destruction? Why do we have this hatred? So that's which is spiritual, which resonates with the laws of nature, of creation, is quite different from that which is intellectual, which is used for so-called everyday experiences.
Thanks very much for that, Gregory. Now, I was thinking of, in the court cases, we have judges, or in, let's say in general, and these judges are meant to be, let's say, wise. And now this wisdom, let's say, according to the country's system, they have to pass the exams and do the law training, whatever it is, and then they can become, well, maybe they don't become judge immediately, we know that. They whatever the profession they go through, and eventually somebody can be made judge. Well, when I think about it, they need to know about the law. It's necessary to know about the law. Anyway, why I'm talking about this, Gregory, this judge has to make a decision about somebody's innocent or guilty and assess the evidence that is put forward in front of them. Even they might be, I know different countries have different systems, but maybe they also question the witnesses, the advocates, and the ones who are defending to determine the truth of the situation. So my question on that is, they're supposed to be, they're considered some respected, and I don't know if I should say highly educated or somehow, I was again going to use the word intelligent, but something in quotes is special about them to be able to become a judge, to determine the truth, because that's what the judges are working to do, to find somebody's guilty or he's innocent, he or she is innocent. I know that's a specific type of field that the judges are working, and I'm not giving an everyday scenario there. But anyway, what I'm asking, is there something special the judge has to be able to determine the truth because of the training or some extra ability they have? Because we have said that anybody is capable of, understanding the truth. Aright. So what is it about the judge that they have to do all this extra training and let's say education to achieve that, in quotes, ability to determine the truth? Is there something they have to do something? Is there something special more about them for them to be able to determine the truth? Because not anybody can become a judge. That's why I'm saying that.
The truth which in this forum we're referring to is spiritual truth. The truth which you yourself are referring to with the judges, these ones are those rules which have been put in place by the community or by the nation. These are two different categories. For that which has been put in place by the nation, and in its subcategory, some are defined as criminal. And this also depends on the maturity of those who made these definitions. So that is very different from the truth which we are referring, which is eternal. You yourself know that today the state can have a budget, and 2 days later they could change that budget. And if you hadn't paid the taxes, or you have been thrown out of your job, you could be found guilty of not having paid the taxes. Yet it was the state that changed everything. One cannot compare the rules which have been put in place by a nation or by a community. One cannot categorize such as the truth, very simply because the community keeps changing. Those people who are responsible, they can change as many things as possible. So there is, in fact, both that which we refer to as spiritual truth is so far away from that which is referred to here as earthly truth. For look at the environment, highly polluted. That's, to a large extent, the pollution is next to criminality, yet the states, they permit it, or depending on the state. So these are two different things. The truth we are referring to is the truth which enables the individual, that individual which is of human, to mature to that extent where it's able to go back home to its origin, the paradise of man, as a self-conscious human personality. That which is done on earth, most of the time, you really cannot rely on that.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this very clear and answer, and really bringing the picture, like you say, of the spiritual truth and, let's say, other earthly truth that people are thinking about. So in this show we are talking about the spiritual truth and how to recognize that or understand that aright, rather than the earthly, you could say, the justice which I was talking about, which is earthly system and earthly rules and regulations. So that's like a different field completely. So thank you for that clarification. I want to let the listeners know that you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is strive to understand the truth aright. Strive to understand the truth aright. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And we are also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space Grail message, space strive to understand the truth aright. I'll just repeat that. That's if you want to listen to us on YouTube, go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1, space Grail message, space strive to understand the truth aright. That's the topic of our show tonight. And after the show ends at 8 p.m. UK time, you can also listen to a recording of the show again on youtube.com and putting the same words in the search box, which I will just repeat one more time, which are Bless Radio 1, the number 1 there, space Grail message, space strive to understand the truth aright. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our other previous shows in the past, also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno, that's Z-E-N-O, excuse me, .fm /radio/ Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 there again. And Gregory, we have clarified now the truth we are talking about is the spiritual truth, not, you could say, earthly. So the question is, and I know you said this, you discover or you learn by through your experiences, and we also have, of course, we do our deeds, we have our thoughts, and also we have our intuition, and that is how we are meant to, you could say, interact with the, get to recognize the truth, you can say. But sometimes, Gregory, it's a little bit what we were talking about earlier. We can be, we know about society, cultures, and so on, and all that influences us. So, what I was wondering, Gregory, somebody could, in quotes, show us something and claim it to be the truth, and we could, by trusting them, follow that, and then maybe we'll actually, through some, let's say something going wrong, we discover no, what we were told, that wasn't the truth actually. Even we trusted the person, but actually that was completely wrong. So my question on that, Gregory, is: are we to have to find these things completely on our own? What is the truth? Or can we, how can I say, learn from other people who, let let me say, are claiming to have the truth, or maybe showing us something, which, um, because Gregory, we don't live on our own, you know. We always have to interact with other fellow human beings, and you can't do things You can't do things completely on your own. You know, if you have to travel, you need to go tread on transport. I know this is not spiritual things as such, but if we can say people are not only these things, but other things that tell us about maybe about the world, you know, how it works and so on. We can't study everything. That's where I'm going, Gregory. So, is it? Um, do we have to find everything by ourselves and discover if it's true or not true?
Many times you find that experiences approach you which you yourself unconsciously have not prepared for. In that case, whatever approaches the human personality, you will find that there is the need to weigh what has accosted you and also to examine in that particular scenario. The need is there to absorb the external impressions, to take it in, to weigh not only with your thoughts, but also to pass these impressions to the spirit for maturity. At the initial stage, it is very challenging, but subsequently, for the individual who does it again and again, before long, he or she is able to make that decision very quickly. So, it must mean that the individual is endowed to weigh, to examine. Only that which has been weighed and examined again and again in a different aspect, only that brings the individual personal conviction. For if the individual lacks the personal conviction which has come about through weighing and examining, the tendency always is to listen to what other people have said. And that becomes the root of failure, because you do not know. You've only taken things for face value. Therefore, the individual that needs personal conviction must weigh and examine all that comes across its path. Only then is that individual able to separate that which is truthful, which is factual, and is of benefit. Else, you will find that which the individual has taken in is garbage. And where there is a lack of personal conviction, when the individual now encounters a different scenario, it lacks that personal conviction to be able to judge aright. So, listening to others without asking questions, that doesn't lead very far.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this. Again, not only giving a clear picture, but pointing us in the right direction, you can say, of using the abilities that we've been given. Or like you say, always weigh and examine whatever somebody gives you. So it's not that you're trying to be distrustful. You're checking what you're being given. Let's say you go to a shop and you pay. The item is £1.34, and you give them £5, and the person gives you, he gives you the change, and you don't check that change. He could trick you and give you something less than what he's supposed to give. So it's important to always be this alert, you can say, and oh, this is what's actually happening, rather than how can I say, presuming or assuming that, oh, everything's all going to be okay. So thank you for that. Now, Gregory, we're talking about understanding the truth aright. So, and we have the three ways, you can say, that we work as human beings, which are, we have our deeds, which you can say are the physical activity. Then we have, or visible, let's call it, physically visible. Then we have thoughts, and people might think, oh, are there really some activity, thoughts? It's just something floating around. But no, that's also an activity. It exists. So it must have some use. And then there is intuition. So what I want to ask there is, I think we had something said in the past before, Gregory, that people, let's, for example, somebody like, let's say, I make up an example, doesn't mean that it applies in every situation, but let's say there's a salesman and you are the customer, and the salesman wants to sell his product, he or she. And he will say, you could say certain words to make that product appealing to you. And that might be some selective words where he or she leaves out certain other things which are relevant. And so you now are making a judgment or decision on whether to go ahead to buy this product or not, based on what you've been told. So these are words being spoken, which we can call them also like a deed. But then the intention, there's also, as I said, the intention of the salesman is to make a sale. And your intention is to buy this a product which you want. But the question is this product really the right one for you or not? It might not, it might meet, let's say, 80% of what you require. I know sometimes you can't get 100% of what you require, but let's say there's some, as I said, certain words which have not been said, which may, if you know what they are, what they are, you may not go ahead any further with that sale, because that would just put you off the whole product. So my question is, Gregory, we have our deeds, actions, you can call them, spoken word, and then we have some thoughts. Maybe we like it or we don't like it, maybe like this. And then we also have the intuition. I haven't put that in that picture in the story about buying a product, but maybe you might have an uneasy feeling about this. Either you don't trust the salesman somehow, or maybe you think it's a good product somehow, and your intuition likes that, senses that it's a good one. So, you go ahead, you can make a decision. So what I'm saying, Gregory, we have these three things: the intuition, the thoughts, and our deeds, which let's call it words in this case, or we're looking at a product that we're looking at. And now we have to decide if that, first of all, what is being said is true. And then number two, is it really what you want? That will be good for you or not? So, Gregory, how can we determine with these three, can I say, ways, um, what is the right thing for, to make in our decision making? How do we make the decision in this with these three um, ways of how, activity? Sorry, I'm not being very clear, best way of expressing it, but I just want to get an idea of how these three ways that we we work, which is our deeds, our thoughts, and our intuition, to make the decision that is right for us.
Well, thanks for mentioning these three areas of work or of activities: the deeds, the thoughts, and the intuition. First, you will have the deeds which are perceptible to the individual, whether it's the salesman or the person who wishes to buy. That is common to both of them because they can see it indeed. In thoughts, sometimes one's thoughts is not in accordance with one's deeds. In the case when you want to deceive somebody, what you present, what is perceptible in deeds, in thoughts, it's very different. That is what you call deception. Because superficially, everything looks okay. In thoughts, the one who wishes to drive things forward may know something about that which is being sold or presented, which they refuse to make available. So your thoughts and your deeds may be at variance. Just as your thoughts and your deeds may be at variance, so also your intuition and your thoughts could be at variance. The intuition does not, in quotes, lie, because its perception, its deep perception exactly represents what it is. The thoughts can vary. So for someone who has been practicing to ensure that he or she is able to use his or her thoughts and to ensure that the intuition resonates with the thoughts, such deceptions, which you yourself mentioned, can be minimized. And as the individual could keep using these personal tools again and again, it becomes sharper and sharper. The difference between one and another person is how these tools have been used. There are many who know how to weave their thoughts deceptively with many words. It is for those people who know how to observe. They can already start making up their minds. So each individual has that capability to develop its intuition, to ensure its intuition resonates with one's thoughts. So what you think subsequently becomes precisely what you say. Or what you mean is what you say, and what you say is what you mean. It means that there are no hidden corners due to long speeches. However, as with everything, it requires practice again and again. Only through practice, like as you have in every language, only through practice can you master this. And it is personal. If, however, the individual is too lazy to practice, then it stands the chance that it can easily be deceived. In some cases, some individual, due to their openness at night, are able to perceive some things which they cannot easily explain. And at that moment, they should start practicing, they should start examining everything to ensure that subsequently what they have observed when the body is at rest, that becomes useful to it. So every experience counts. Every external experience, every experience in thoughts, and every experience in one's intuition. All these three must be brought into the equation, united, and to ensure that it brings benefits to the individual. It may take some time at the initial stages, but before too long, that individual becomes sharper and sharper, and hopefully is able to avoid that which would have led to catastrophes.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this explanation there. It's good to know that, well, as you say, we have to practice. Practice makes perfect. We know that saying. So, yes, at the beginning, we don't know if somebody's trying to deceive us or not in a scenario. But that through the interaction, maybe you become sharper in asking the right question. By practicing, you will be better in that, because once you have been scammed or had a bad experience, you can always, as I say, you learn from it. So the next time something comes up, you're more prepared. And then this intuition, we are supposed to, be awake to what it's telling us. As I said, sometimes they call it the inner voice, or little small voice. Is sensing something, and you don't know always what it's trying to tell you, but it's something, let's say, we are supposed to listen to. So yes, we'll keep on exploring this a bit more in a moment. I just want to let the listeners know that you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge In the Light of Truth, the Grail Message by Uprushing. If you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is strive to understand the truth aright. Strive to understand the truth aright. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And we are also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space Grail Message, space the topic of the show tonight, which is strive to understand the truth aright. And just excuse me a second, there's something I just need to do, just 1 second. Sorry for that, I'm back again. So, and then after the show finishes tonight at 8 p.m. UK time, you can listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube, which is, again, you type in the same words in the search box. So go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space Grail Message, space the topic of the show tonight, which is strive to understand the truth aright. And one other, there's a third place you can listen to our show tonight, every Tuesday as well, which is Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/radio/Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1. Now, we've been talking about using the intuition, and we have said that that is our inner voice, the voice of the spirit. So, and also the clue is there that we're supposed to understand the truth. We're looking for the spiritual truth, or we are wanting to understand the spiritual truth. So we have to understand it, we need to understand it through a spiritual means. So the intuition is that one of the spiritual means for us to, you could say, interact with the truth. Now, it's a really special ability. Now, Now, Gregory, how do you know when it is your intuition speaking, or maybe it's your imagination? Because, uh, you know, they say intuition is a feeling. Can you just tell us more about the intuition, Gregory? What is intuition? How does it work?
Basically, the intuition is an activity of the spirit, an expression of the spiritual activities, which flows through the back brain, and then hopefully it has an impression on the frontal brain, which is then expressed externally. Basically, you will find that in many cases there's a confusion between that which is of intuition and that which is not of intuition. That which is of intuition, we present to the individual a picture without words. Whereas that which is different from it, words can be attached to it. More of the difference one can find in the Walk in the Light of Truth, the Grail message, where there are several lectures, the main one being that of intuitive perception. And there is another one which is called the inner voice. However, for many, to differentiate between intuition and non-intuition is difficult because they lack the practice. That which is intuitive is wholesome, is harmonious. Why do we not say that? You will find that there is a continuity, and many times you will find that it's in quiet hours when the activities of the frontal brain is minimal that pictures become sharper and clear. If, however, the inner attitude of the individual is not conducive to intuition, then you will find that there will be distorted images which the individual to a large extent cannot rely on. But the intuition is very clear, and sometimes it is counter to what the individual is used to. Because many times we're used to some rigidity, like the language which we speak. There is that rigidity. There is also concepts which do not resonate with the laws of nature, the laws of creation. Whereas that which is intuitive is not so. Some of the local laws or rules which the individuals have put in place, they are counterintuitive. They are not beneficial, but sometimes they are enforced. So one must realize that which is intuitive presents the individual a picture without words. Like he said, more for those who need more, they can examine the Walk in the Light of Truth, where it is made very, very clear. And subsequently, the individual, in his or her own peculiar way, must come to understand, must attune itself to be able to recognize its intuition and follow it.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for that. Picture of what is intuition. I know you gave a brief one there, and referring the people to go and read for themselves in the Grail message. There's more detailed picture about it. So thank you for that. There was something you mentioned right early on in the show about purifying the intuition. So can you say something about that? Because I know you said we all know you have to practice, and of course, like I said, practice makes perfect.
Yes, one use the expression purifying the intuition. One will put that in quotes. For the individual need to purify himself or herself to be able to perceive aright. Why is that expression used? The physical body which the individual uses is made of matter. Now, a very simple example may clarify that. When one looks at, if you have a glass of water and there is a spoon on it or a meter roll on it, if you observe from the outside, you'll find it is bent. For when light goes through denser medium, we have that distortion. But deep within ourselves, we sense, no, it cannot be bent, because the ruler, it looks bent. That doesn't mean it is bent. It is our view. It is our attitude. The attitude that has accumulated over time. It is that which makes that which is straight, which is pure, seem unpure. So the need is there for the individual again and again to make that correction. For we have too many preconceived notions. And these preconceived notions distorts that which is pure. Strictly speaking, for many don't understand what purity is anymore, because they have held so much to impurity and have accepted it. And only through harrowing experiences is the individual able to sever itself away from these distortions. So the need is there to cleanse oneself, to strive after that which is pure. In that case, that which is intuitive, when it strikes the individual, is able to recognize it the way it is. So what you find with different people is the degree of purity they harbor within themselves. Some have come to this through harrowing experiences, whereas others, due to practice again and again, have now come to it in the course of their experiences.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for that answer about, purifying the intuition. And I'm thinking, is there any exercise that people can practice to purify the intuition? Sorry, getting.
Of course, there are always exercises.
Okay.
For the individual who cleanses himself or herself from preconceived notion, that individual who weighs whatever incidents, who examines whatever incidents, who weighs and examines in accordance with the laws of creation, of nature, again and again and again, gradually, that individual will ditch those wrong notions that it has held all this while. And before long, he or she is able to align through its inner attitude to that which is intuitive. Another simple example is the impressions that we gather many times, in which we wake up in the morning and we are told the sun rises from the east and sets in the west. The sun, which is always there, the sun does not rise from the east, nor does it set in the west. It is the earth that is spinning that has given that impression. So, if our inner attitude holds to what has been written out there without further examination, then there may be some happenings along the line which we are unable to explain. So that is how it goes. Because some of the wrong impressions, we have internalized them. And in the first case, the need is there to shatter those wrong impressions. The walk in the light of truth will help in that exercise.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for that. I'm just, I'm thinking, we are saying the topic tonight is strive to understand the truth aright. By definition, it means you can misunderstand the truth, or let's say not understand the truth aright. And obviously, let's say those of us who want to understand aright, we don't want to go wrong in our approach. And so now, Gregory, we know intuition is one of the key ways to find out if something is true or not true. But and I gave example earlier of somebody like a salesman, that you are a customer and you're talking with a salesman, and the salesman is trying to sell his product. Obviously, there may be some bad points, and if you hear them, you might say, no, this is not what I want. So all these things are going on. And then, Gregory, the thing is, we are, let's say, in this, I was using the word customer, but it doesn't have to be, it's just one scenario. The real thing is, you and I ourselves can also, uh, in quotes, um, either make a mistake or misinterpret something, and that means we don't understand that whatever we are looking at are right. That is a danger, you know. And I was thinking or wondering, Gregory, when in quotes we are going wrong in our understanding, uh, how would we find that out? Is it like we just have to go follow through the what we are going through, and then at the end of the, let's say, process, we discover, oh, that was not correct? Or can we, so what I'm asking is it possible to know if you have a wrong understanding, let's say, in that in the during that process, or is it only afterwards that you discover that what you understood was wrong? You know, um, yes. Is there like a way? Uh,
Of
uh,
course, there is,
right.
and there always is. Almost all the experiences which the individual encounters before a final experience, before something precipitates, most of the time you find that the individual is talking about the final precipitate which is visible, or the final precipitate which is accessible using the five senses. That is what the individual is holding on to. Sometimes, instead of that which is in deeds which are perceptible to the five senses, sometimes it's in the thoughts before it becomes deeds. Most time, first is in one's intuition, which would have warned way, way away. Could have been a day, an hour, a month, a week, sometimes ago. Such impressions would have hit the individual to enable himself or herself to be more perceptive, but it is swept away. And as things thicken, as this radiation thicken, due to reciprocal activities, it then has an impact on one's thoughts. The individual start having thoughts and really cannot explain it, but doesn't feel comfortable. Subsequently, deeds start manifesting themselves. Whereas had he or she opened up to the initial intuition, he or she would have so improved itself, adjusted itself, so that whatever needed to have precipitated such experiences which will hit it very hard could have been avoided. So it becomes a matter of alertness. Alertness of these experiences, alertness of that which is intuitive. One must be alert. Alertness also of one's thoughts, and finally, before it precipitates, alertness in deeds. Therefore, such vigilance must come into play. And that is why because the individual has to be alert in deeds, in thoughts, and above all in one's intuition. The need is there to, in his striving, in his works, to be able to perceive this and make use of it. To put it very bluntly, that's admonition to walk and pray. To walk means vigilance, striving for recognition, first in the spiritual sense. Secondly, in thoughts. And finally, in deeds. In that manner, that which you will have brought destruction to the individual is avoided, because the individual is given the opportunity to have changed before these things manifest, whether it's a salesman or whatever it is. The individual is always granted the opportunity to mature, to change, such that it will see things differently. If, however, these opportunities are ignored, then you have the scenario which you are talking of, in which at the last minute you have to make a decision.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer and, explanation as well, how we can, you could say, save ourselves from failure or sort of wrong decision by being alert. So thank you for that. Dear listeners, we've come to the end of the show tonight. Hope you've enjoyed the discussion on the topic of strive to understand the truth aright. And I want to say this topic was inspired by what is in the foreword of the Grail message, or even the first pages of the Grail message, where it is, which is, I'm going to now read that to end our show tonight, which starts with, free yourself from all darkness. He who makes no effort to grasp the word of the Lord aright burdens himself with guilt. Now I'm going to continue with the foreword of the Grail message, which is titled, For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you're truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Uprooting. And dear listeners, if you wish to want more information on the Grail message, or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. That's grailmessage.com. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing listeners a very beautiful week ahead.
Same for me, listeners. Have a very beautiful week ahead. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time, with another topic. Good night.